It's Shakespeare who said, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking make it so. Beautiful. I posted in one of the video kind of assembling various quotations and ideas pointing all at the same thing. And I forgot to put this one on top of it. Well, let's see if I can remember. The first thing popped up is the Zen Sosan, the third patriarch, Shinjinmei, which is the faith mind. The first sentence is something like, I don't remember all, but basically the same thing as what Shakespeare said. The way to get to the way, it's not difficult, just to avoid making judgment, meaning the preferences. Yeah, that's the better word, preferences. So it's basically the same thing. And Samadhi, I often talk about, relating to meditation, is the same. Samadhi points no mind and no self. So what do you get? You have to practice it to get what it reaches to. It goes to the same place, like the Shakespeare and Sosan. So this is, what's his name? The third patriarch? Sosan, yeah, right? Said the same thing. And I said the Samadhi goes there, which is the same. And I used the word, when you get to the pure no mind and no self, it's like an awakening moment is when you find and realize a state of absolute being. So what it means is kind of like a common sense, everything as it is. But our mind make it different. So you just have to go beyond the mind. And related to that, I talked example of Uji, Lady Uji, Myokonin. Her transformation is pointing the same, that in essence, she couldn't go over the mind constraint. And when it happened, this is related to Amida Buddha, so Namu Amida Butsu, it was out of something else. Maybe that's not the right expression, but basically pointing that other power, Tariki, it's not your power to go over. You just face the impossible difficulty. You are cornered, you cannot go any more. And when that is get to the peak, then you get enlightenment. In Shin Buddhism, they could call it Satori or enlightenment. Shinjin Ketsujo, meaning the Shinjin, faith mind, is clarified or something like that. So that's another one. Maybe I'm forgetting a few more. Let me think through. But that's good enough. Yeah, well, some examples. My own awakening is the same. That this is year 2000, so 25 years ago. I was in pain, and I wanted to get out of it. But more I tried, I couldn't. And there's Zen saying to point that if you try to struggle to get out, it is like you're binding a rope without having a rope. So you're crucifying because you are hitting the wall of the mind that says you should get out of this pain. You should get out of this pain. And I was crucifying. More I tried to get out, it bind more. That's the reason why it says without the rope you bind yourself. And at the peak of that, I questioned, is that because I'm trying to get out of it? When I questioned that, this rope that was imaginary rope that I was trying to get out because I'm playing in the mind was not there. So the whole thing is just exploded that I had that awakening moment. Never forget that. And the Eckhart Tolle's story is similar. He thought he wanted to commit suicide or something like that. And one evening, he said to himself, I can't stand myself. So there's me and another me. So that's the new perspective he found. Just like the Uji-san, Lady Uji, who couldn't get out. And then other power made it happen. And I call the other power is the nature's way because human way get into this confused and craziness and you cannot get out. Actually, another Myokonin, Osono, her favorite saying to teach people how to learn or practice Symbolism is to accept everything is okay. Say hi or yes to everything. And that's, if you do it 3 years, 2 years, then you find a way that you accept everything as it is. But it is the continuous struggle, perhaps, because the mind habit is to get over the hurdle. That's why we have the mind. So essentially, the nature's ways, you go back to the Garden of Eden. And I can think of more, but again, the point, the same thing going over and over, is when you hit the absolute state of being, or non-duality is another one. Advaita, but be careful, non-duality is just a conceptual idea, but you have to accept that non-duality means no thinking, no mind, and no ego, no self. And practice that, just like Osono, or Uji, or Shakespeare, or Sosan, and Vipassana, my experience, or Eckhart Tolle. Everybody's saying the same thing. So you understand it, maybe, that you just let go of ego, and you have to accept everything, right? But conceptual understanding is not actual physical or experiential wisdom of understanding, and that's called the Satori, which is to go beyond the ego and the mind constraint. And if you don't face it, you just stay in that mind. But if you start to face it, and many people who are in Zen is like that. Even Buddha, the problem many people had, I'm not like that, but maybe I had another reason. But anyway, Buddha's case was he had lost his mother when he was young. Daisetsu lost his father and mother. He was young. He was very young. And Shinran and Dogen and who else? Many Zen masters have gone through similar hardship when they were young. So they had this great doubt why life is like that. And everybody else may look very happy, but why I am so different? And then that's the koan, basically. They have it. So it's not the easy stuff, but all the path for enlightenment to go beyond the suffering caused by the mind that is only happened for the human being. Therefore, what you're trying to do is actually go back to the Garden of Eden, like a tree or the, I don't know, pig or bird or something, without using the mind. And Osono says, after living life like that, and she said, what a waste I had. And smiling because I understand what she means. So it's better to find that the life is a waste if we have this enlightenment. then it's like the death of ego, which I already talked about here and there, and not just my experience, but others. And maybe I can think of some examples. Yeah, Myokonin Saichi, that he says, that's also in the YouTube that I put. What he said is that I have already finished my funeral. So ego is gone. But what happens is him being also still the human. So he says he can go to the Pure Land, which is Nirvana, but he can come back. He can go there, he can come back. So I feel like that too. But still, everybody's the human. So we all also have this brain, which basically fight against all the stuff that we cannot go through. So you still may feel, but you have gone through once, then the second, the third, and fourth is pretty manageable. But still, like Osono, the feeling is there that what a waste. So when I say it's the state of eternal home, that is pointing the same. That's my word, and eternal home, because that's what it is. And it's the same as dying yourself. And that's the origin you came from. So that's what it is. So if you get the idea, it may help, but without going through breakthrough, like any skills that we learn, there's a moment things click to be the master. If you like it, you can pursue it, then you get better and better, and everything become more autonomous, like you're conscious of unconscious, that you have all the skills and ideas embedded within yourself, so you can access and then turn over the difficult situation to be taken easy. And this is one of those. Everything passes. So that's the teaching by Buddha and many religious leaders. Yeah, Meister Eckhart said the same thing. And then I talked about the Krishnamurti. Both of them basically saying that observer is observed. And Uji, the Lady Uji, is saying that she felt that someone is observing, or she herself is observing, just like the Eckhart Tolle's case, that when he felt, I can't stand myself, there's another me looking at himself. So the Lady Uji was going like that, and Meister Eckhart was talking like that. And the eye through which I see the God is the God. The eye is the same eye God sees me. So observed and observed. So that's the same idea of the Krishnamurti. And there are more that I can think of, but the point of this is just the background information. As much as like Osono says, practice it over and over. May take 2 years, 3 years, but if you keep practicing it, you go through. And when you go through, your ego, the power of ego, diminishes and go away, and you are more relaxed and not to be too damaged or suffered from the difficulties. I think the difficulty continues as much as we have brain, but it's a trick and a skill to go through it. Whether you call this religion or that religion, that's something, but it's not the Durga. It's not the religion, but the whole point is the process within yourself. Instead of the ritual and dogma and all that, and following that as if all the procedure is, of course, helpful to have certain discipline, like a cleaning up, and as Buddha said, to the person who couldn't get the idea, just clean up. And then this guy got enlightened. So it's kind of like if you practice those ideas for 2 years, 3 years, it can happen. I think that knowledge is helpful. You need to be careful to think that you understand it. And understand doesn't mean you can practice it. And there are many people who can understand and talk, but real practice is the one that the listener do their own job. That's an experiential learning that has to take place. So that's what I thought by looking at the little piece of paper hanging, the Shakespeare's word that I said at the beginning. Profound. He didn't go through Zen or Shin Buddhism or anything, but he came to the same, and there are many people who came to the same point. So the question is, then what? And that's the question. You are not asking someone to answer for you, because someone else's answer is not your answer. Just like swimming or any sports or art. If you have a problem or issue that you want to go over, you have to have the spirit, some level of determination and dedication, and make it work. It's a saga of human being. But it is to learn who we are and how we can live our life. I really hope that AI can help, but abuse can happen. So understanding would help, practice would help, but still, as a humanity, I think it'd be great that if we reach to a higher level of who we are, what the life could be. So may all beings be happy.